This radio program is PG-13. Parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13.
The following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona, Brother Mike, back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thanks for tuning into the program. Hey, today's Bible study, Suicide Saints. Today on Hardcore. Hey, call somebody and tell them the radio program's on, would you? Got another unbelievable story for you today. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. Been a counselor for over 43 years. We are downtown on 15th Avenue, just south of Osborne Road. It's a red brick building. HardcoreChristianity.com is a website. You'll notice we have 2 live services every week. Thursday, Friday nights at 7 o'clock. 3 Zoom healing services every week. Monday nights for the ladies only at 6:30. Wednesday and Saturday nights at 6 p.m. for everybody. Don't forget about our children's deliverance services the first Saturday of every month. Don't forget about the women's seminar on October 19th. It's going to be a tremendous move of the Spirit. Don't forget about my Sunday morning podcast, 9 o'clock Pacific and Arizona time. Send me an email, mike@hardcorechristianity.com. I'll send you all the information about all the services. Suicide Saints. I have spent years warning everybody that would even listen that when they cast out deliverance from our churches about 75 years ago, that allowed the demons to take over the churches and reduce them to rubble. And the failure of Christianity in America is directly related to removing deliverance from the churches. It's the number one problem. The churches became lukewarm, gutless, and routine failures because people went into the ministry who had not gone through deliverance. They engaged in what I call carryover. You carry your demons over from your sinful life into your Christian life, when in fact, in the first century, everybody got filled with the Holy Ghost. Everybody went through deliverance. Nobody thought anything about it. Everybody thought it was like a normal thing. You lived in sin, you picked up demons, and you had to be delivered from demons. And the born-again experience does not automatically do it. Everybody knows that. Deliverance is the children's bread. Anybody with half a brain knows that Christians can be infected with demons, but they cannot be possessed by them. And Paul summed it up in 2 Timothy chapter 3. Know this, in the last days, perilous times shall come. Greek word kalapos. It means dangerous. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. 1 Timothy 4, the Spirit speaks expressly that in the latter times, some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and teachings of demons. They will speak lies in hypocrisy. They will have their conscience seared with a hot iron. What did I just describe? Christianity Today. You ever heard of that magazine? They should have had me writing it. Christianity Today, a bankrupt, gutless, useless church that has failed America, and as you look around this country, the devil is taking over, and the church can't stop him. Half the churches in the United States are woke churches, transitioning grade schoolers from one sex to another, puberty blockers, silencing free speech. Can you imagine it? Illegal immigrants running across the border, unvetted and unvaccinated, destroying our cities. Non-citizens voting in the election. Trump's going to lose. Why? They never fixed the problem. They had 4 years to fix it, and they didn't do it. Hasta la vista, Trump. Travel with me, if you will, to Nashville, Tennessee, and let me give you an illustration of what it looks like when you don't have ministers go through deliverance before they go into ministry. You're supposed to go through deliverance before you go into the ministry. Anybody with half a brain knows that. Check this out. David Baker Sr., a pastor and married father of 11. He was the vice president of Independent Baptist Online College. Last Wednesday, just a few days ago, walked into a local hospital, pulled out a gun, walked into the men's room, shot himself in the chest, and he died. The Columbia Police Department in Nashville said Baker went into the Maury Regional Hospital after he bonded out of jail for aggravated sexual battery of a young child younger than 12. Committed suicide. The Maury Regional Hospital, after he shot himself at 12:45 p.m., was placed on lockdown. Nobody knew what was happening. Everybody heard a gunshot, and immediately the hospital went on lockdown. Wow. You know, the church needs to go on lockdown. They need to lock down all these sex-crazed, money-grubbing, covetous pastors who never went through deliverance, who carried their demons from their sinful life into their Christian life, and the demons went with them through Bible college and seminary, and the demons then went to a church with them, helping them pastor the church. Baker had previously been booked into Maury County Jail just last Tuesday. A week and a half ago? Charged with one count of sexual battery. He was released on bond for $200,000. He was supposed to appear in court a couple weeks later. I'd hate to be that bonding company, wouldn't you? Wow. That didn't work out too good. In addition to that, Baker, the demon-infected pastor, had run for Maury County mayor in 2022. He had filed a defamation suit against his opponent, who was the eventual winner. Her name was Sheila Butt. Sheila Butt won the election for mayor. The strange case highlighted a suicide of a former colleague of Baker's, but the case was later dismissed by the judge. The problem was the details of that case would have put Baker in a horrible light, and it would have damaged his campaign and his ministry, and so he did everything he could to conceal it. The case was about fraud, and another guy involved in the case committed suicide. So the whole thing was a giant mess he was trying to keep covered up. But listen to this. He was not only pastoring the online college at Family Bible Church, but he used to be the pastor of Lighthouse Baptist Church for years. And the news media went to that church and they interviewed a lady named Amy Spires. And she told them that Pastor Baker was a wolf in sheep's clothing, that he had molested numerous women at that church. And they had no idea how many young victims they had. He apparently was attracted to preteen girls. He was sexually attracted to them. He never got caught, and none of the victims ever received any type of counseling or prayer or deliverance. What's going on here? Friends, if you used to be a very lustful person when you were living in sin, and you committed adultery, or you were a fornicator, or you got involved in who knows what, or if you were in drugs and alcohol before you got saved, you were living in sin. Hey, and I'm not saying this isn't abnormal. It's actually normal. Sinners sin because they're sinners, and that's what they do. Sinners sin, period. I was sinning like crazy and committing adultery and doing all kinds of things when I was living in sin. It's just a normal thing. It's just another thing. That's all it is. Perfectly common. But after you get born again, in the early church in the first century, everybody got filled with the Holy Ghost. Everybody went through deliverance. It was just like a routine thing. Everybody knew about demons back then. They knew that Christians couldn't be possessed by demons, but they knew that Christians could be infected with spirits. Demons can get in your body or your brain, causing a physical or mental illness. And the early church, it was routine for people to go through deliverance. They had to get rid of their demons from their sinful life. Well, nowadays, since they kicked deliverance out of the church about 75 years ago, now born-again Christians don't go through deliverance. And a lot of them go to Bible college or seminary. A lot of them love the Lord and they want to serve and they care. And so they just simply go into a pastorship or some kind of ministry, and guess what happens? The demons manifest later, and you have all kinds of scandals break out. And as you know, church scandals always involve two issues. Number one, sex. Number two, money. And nobody can understand how these pastors who've been ministering for years, for example, this Pastor Baker had been in the ministry for, I don't know, over 2 decades. And he did a good job and was basically a good man of God. He was a married father of 11 kids. You know, it wasn't like he was Attila the Hun. No, not at all. A lot of these pastors with demons, they're good people. They care about God. A lot of them have nice giftings, and they do a good job in their ministries. That's a very common theme. It happens all the time. But these demons that they carried over from their sinful life to their Christian life, these things manifest sooner or later. You see, the demons want to kill you and send you to hell. If you escape them and you happen to get born again, you get out of their grasp, then they switch tactics, and they went from trying to murder you and drag you to hell to ruining your Christian life. So they go dormant after you get saved, then they manifest later, and as you can imagine, all hell breaks loose. This poor pastor was a serial pedophile because he had lust demons and he couldn't get rid of them. He didn't know he had demons. And those demons manifested at his previous church and then manifested again at his current church and online college. It happens all the time. If you need help like this, 602-636-5800. You need to come get it now.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.